70% of people out there think this is woo-woo. They have no idea that this could actually cure cancer, that there's real science that backs up exactly how sound works physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. There's a law of physics that says a strong vibration will overcome a weaker vibration and entrain the weaker into the stronger. It's called dominant resonance in physics. The big problem is chaos. So it's like a cell is kind of fibrillating, and you can see it. It actually becomes very frazzled, is no longer symmetrical when a cell is not doing well. And then when you play sound to it, there's many research projects that show the cell getting back to a completely symmetrical round cell. You can resonate it into its healthy state. And that's the new medicine. I mean, we have frequencies, 15 frequencies that will destroy 15 types of cancer 80% of the time in the lab. And now they're using ultrasound on cancer, liver cancer, at Johns Hopkins. Most people in the field of sound healing are looking at the frequency of something. What really matters is the way frequencies flow or change musically through a system in the body. And flow is music.
Welcome to the Sound Healing Revival podcast. My guest today is David Gibson. How you doing, David?
Great. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so looking forward to this conversation. For those of you who don't know David Gibson, he is a really amazing leader in the sound healing space. You're about as deep into the sound healing world as you can go in this life. So just to give the audience a quick overview of all the different things that you are doing in the sound healing space, which is a lot. You've got the Sound Healing Institute, which is your school for training sound healing practitioners. You also teach recording and music production, especially with a sort of lean towards the healing modalities. You've got your online store. You've got your center in Sausalito, California, where you actually do sessions and take clients. And you also have the Medical Sound Association and the Sound Education Association for working with kids and also working with getting this stuff into hospitals. So that's a lot. And honestly, when I look at all the stuff you're doing, I'm like, how in the world do you keep it all together? It's pretty amazing, but you've clearly got a lot of great support too in all these different fields. So, yeah, what are you up to these days? Like, what are you really feeling excited about when it comes to all these different projects that you're working on?
Well, what I'm most interested in is how many people can we help? I'm getting a little old now, and I'm thinking, that's all that really matters. So if I'm going to do a project, I want it to really be effective for lots of people to make a huge impact. Right? And there's really two projects. One is to actually change the whole medical system, which probably is not even going to happen in my lifetime, but I can plant the seed and get underway. And we've got quite a few projects around that. But the other thing I'm most excited about is the kids project. And that is creating a new curriculum for kids from all the way from utero up to high school, 18 years old. And it's really a program where no kid is made out to be a failure. We find the gifts of every kid, and every kid is at peace where they can focus and they're healthy socially, emotionally. And also they learn a math that is based on nature instead of the math I learned, which I have no idea why I learned it, right? And every subject matter has a reason for learning it. And that reason is very clear from the beginning. So every step of the way in the entire curriculum, it all makes sense. I mean, there's so many things in school. It's like, okay, this is cool, but how does this fit into the big picture of me being a great person? There's even the teachers lose track, right? So it's a new curriculum, and we've already got 2,500 exercises, and we're now getting funding to create schools around the world, private schools, and then be able to track them in detail in a way that is credible for administrations and governments, and then go to the administrations and governments and say, look how effective this is. The kids are way better at focus, they're way better in so many different areas, and they're happy and excited to learn the rest of their life.
Nice. I love that. And a huge part of that curriculum is, of course, rooted in sound and rooted in a lot of the sort of ideological, theoretical underpinnings of sound and sound healing as a modality, right?
Yeah, but it's kind of limiting to say sound. It's more vibration, which is the whole
Right.
universe. So it's not just sound, it's electromagnetics and color and light. And it's really the basis of vibration in the universe, which is the basis of all reality based on physics. So we get into the physics, but we get into the emotional aspects as far as flow systems based on nature. So flow in your own emotions, flow in a relationship, and so we're looking at a full range of how sound works or vibration works through all levels of reality, and that's whether it's chemistry or how it's been taught or understood in ancient times as far as history. So we're doing all subject matter with that thread of vibration through the whole thing to have it all make sense. So in one respect, we learn about quantum physics in the end, vibration at that level. But we're also learning about how the whole body works and how a business works as far as flow systems that you see in nature. So we're really basing the whole thing on the physics of flow within nature, and flow is music. Smooth flow is a smooth song, right? And music is also made up of frequencies and notes, and then combinations of frequencies, which are called timbres, which are the main sounds, and then the relationship, and then the actual flow. And you can see that as the basis of all reality, which many spiritual traditions talk about as well. Then we're using that framework for the medical side to explain how healing happens in the body.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And, what I'm finding in my own journey with music and sound and therapeutic sound is I'm having to re-educate myself into this paradigm of vibration that is really more true than the materialist construct that I was raised in. And it's just so awesome that you're working on basically creating a whole system for children to really go through that whole discovery process of the world, which is ideally the education system, in a way where that vibrational flow, harmony, context is really at the heart of it from the beginning.
Yeah, it's so cool. Just this morning, I got a download of exactly how to say it. It's like vibration is the basis of all reality. So it's like teaching a new language. But it's a language that we know intimately because it's the basis of our whole system, not only the body and emotions, but also all of nature and all of the universe. So it's like this new language that we know intimately but kind of forgot.
Exactly. And that's why I named this podcast The Sound Healing Revival. Partly because I come from a Baptist background, partly because sound healing is really good at reviving you when you're feeling in the dumps, and partly because it's not necessarily a new perspective. It's a perspective that we're reviving in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not only was known in the past, maybe not the physics and the mathematical formulas and such, But I mean, there's so many spiritual traditions from the past that included sound and vibration. So, but it's also just the basis of our reality right in this moment. So, it's really, it's so cool because I've imagined what a kid would be like that goes through this curriculum. I mean, we've got an unbelievable amount of detail for the basis of reality and really also to be able to create a business and thrive as well. And kids going through such a program, they're going to be so grounded, they're going to be heart open, they're going to be able to deal with emotions, they're going to be connected to nature, and they're going to have a framework for how to change the world for the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to be lit up like Christmas trees.
I love that. And like for people hearing you talk about physics and all these other things, like you actually have a background in that, right? And you have a whole previous lifetime as an audio engineer. So could you tell us a little bit about how you went from being an audio engineer and a music producer with a background in acoustic physics to being a leader in the sound healing field? Like, how did that transition happen for you? What were the first experiences with sound healing that really lit you up with the inspiration to move in that direction?
Well, I started as a recording engineer over 40 years ago. I worked with James Brown's band, the Doobie Brothers, and got some good credits and learned a lot. And I started seeing the magic coming across from different musicians where I would get goosebumps and chills. Sometimes the room would turn purple, right? And it was like, oh my God. And I thought later, how can we reproduce this magic at will? And so it turns out there's a lot of like people that have been doing sound healing around the Bay Area. So I had the whole recording program for like 15 years, and I added on sound healing. And at first, the heavy metalers and the hip hoppers were like, "Cool, man, cool," right? And then we created the whole sound healing program on the side as well. And then that has kind of even become more important. But also what happened is I came up with this system for mixing where I used bubbles or spheres to show different instruments in a mix so I can show different structures of mixes visually. And my book, The Art of Mixing, has been the #1 selling book in recording for like 15 years now. And it's really, I've sold 100,000 copies. I've got 3 million views on YouTube. Right? And it's really in all the schools through the whole world for teaching audio recording. And with that system, which I've got it in virtual reality where you can actually reach up and grab the spheres and move them and control volume and panning and frequency and EQ and everything. And even grab the sounds and throw them around the room, these little spheres for each sound in the mix. But then I realized I could put those sounds inside the body in virtual reality, where you put on a VR helmet, you look down, you can see a graphic of inside of your body. You can take geometries which represent those sounds, sacred geometries that have their own healing capacity, and drop them into different organs, and it will move it up and down on a sound table or sound lounge or vest that we sell. So you feel it in your body right where you're seeing it. So I thought, if I'm going to be doing that, I need to learn about sound healing so I don't explode any organs. Right? And so I got the school going. I've now got 18 sound healing conferences. And we've also got our full program. I've learned so much from the instructors and the people in the conferences because I know just about everybody in the field. So it's interesting. I'm kind of like the top journalist in the field because by doing these conferences, I've learned more than you can imagine. And then I've got my guides that are now kicking in and giving me more information and piecing it all together. And so then it became, okay, well, what are we going to do with all this? And it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago when it all became really clear that service is all that matters. And my left brain goes, okay, well, if we're going to do service, how can we help as many people as possible? So I give my left brain that job, right? Keep it busy. So it's really efficient at creating projects that help people as much as possible. But this is what I've learned, is when you come up with ideas that will help millions of people, spirit kicks in and goes, oh, we're going to help you financially, and we're going to bring all the people you need so you don't even have to search for them to actually create the teams to do this. And it's happened. We've got all the funding we need to actually do all these projects, and people are showing up like every month or so. It's amazing. So it's a really amazing thing to think of. The new economic system is, instead of finding investors that you have to be stressed about paying back, and also they're about making money, so their intention is not pure completely. Instead, think about how can you help as many people. There's a lot of billionaires out there that are looking for ways to help people right now. So that's the new economic system. Think about how you can help as many people as possible, and the money shows up.
Amen to that. That's yeah. That's such a huge reason for me wanting to even be here and doing this this podcast, is because that's really been what I've been seeing and feeling in my own spirit. Like, I could do all of these different things, but like, what's really the best way to reach the most amount of people and spread this knowledge of sound healing as a modality to as many people as possible? And this is what I keep getting led back to. And there's a power to that when you're aligned with the stronger vibrations of the universe, you could say, that really can carry you for sure.
It's really interesting. Also, what I've learned is the truth is, I mean, it's easy in this field to get stuck with the choir. But the truth is, probably, I would say even maybe 70% of people out there think this is woo-woo. Right? Now, they might think it's cool for just relaxation or something, but they have no idea that this could actually cure cancer. When we find the frequency of a cancer cell, we can turn it up and explode it. That's a basis of the destructive resonance in physics, exactly the same way that we destroy kidney stones. So they have no idea that there's real science that backs up exactly how sound works physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so a lot of my goal has been, work has been, to show people that there is real science behind this. And there's only so much clinical research, although we've got about 1,000 studies on our site. In the Sound Healing Research Foundation, you can find 1,000 papers. But still, there's a lot. I mean, there's so many details about the body and how sound works that haven't actually been done because, research studies are expensive. So that's one area. But in the same time, I've got all these higher beings knocking on my door going, what about universal love? What about source? What about, what the things that really matter? It's like if you tap into source while you're doing sound, miracles happen like crazy. I mean, like only 25% or less. Actually, in the meetings, I always ask people, how many of you can have experienced universal love? And less than 30% normally. And then I ask, how many of you can access it at will? And it goes down to probably around 15%. Well, now we can do a map with EEG using AI to map those people that can access universal love and see what's going on in the brain. And then we can actually even find the rhythm of the heart for that person when they're running universal love. And then we can even, I just got this whole download with this psychic. It was really funny to actually create a virtual reality system that connects the pineal gland visually to the thymus, where a lot of people say universal love comes in. She says even to the spleen back up to the heart. So there's a whole circle that happens. And then we can show that visually in virtual reality inside of your body while we're mapping the frequencies that your brain would be in universal love for you, because everybody's a little bit different. We can map it to you. So we can actually bring you to a state and activate the pituitary and pineal with the frequencies that turn them on. And then we can now start leading people to an open door of universal love that they've never experienced. I mean, so there's that whole area of the esoteric where I just want to get freaking high and get people high. Because if you're in universal love and one with the universe, there's one other, another colleague that has ultrasound frequencies that he can play on microtubules in the brain and bring you into oneness in the lab every time. Well, when you're one with the universe, there's no more anxiety. There's no more depression. There's no more PTSD. We're talking about an end to all mental emotional issues. This is unbelievable. Not only that, you're freaking high. The only problem is, why get out of bed if you're running, source and universal love? I mean, why go to work and you become homeless? So you got to deal with that.
Oh, I love that so much. And yeah, the more that I have been kind of in this space, the more I'm realizing, like, I too feel a very strong calling towards helping people, regardless of spiritual beliefs, regardless of spiritual backgrounds. If you're atheist, if you have any particular religious leanings, like, it doesn't matter. You can use sound healing and you can get benefits from it regardless of your beliefs. Like, there's some stuff that's just going to work every single time. And I feel really, really inspired to help bring more of that stuff out into the world without necessarily getting super attached to any one particular spiritual perspective. But at the same time, I personally do have that that interest and that experience with music and sound as a spiritual tool for healing. And one of the main things we talked about in the program is emotional healing, and how many times it's emotions and stuck emotions in the body that actually manifest as physical illness. But really, even prior to the emotional discord, there's this spiritual discord that can happen. And I don't know, I had some experiences recently where it was just the connection to that divine love, to that source energy, I think really is the most healing possible thing. And that's part of what we're doing in the sound healing field as practitioners, is to help people reconnect to source energy, to that trusting, loving space. And sound is in one way just a vehicle for that. And then, of course, in other ways, like you were talking about exploding cancer cells, like there's also very medical applications for sound and very physiological ways that it works in the body. But it's been a journey for me to try to balance out the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual, and how they all really relate together. Do you have go ahead?
Yeah, I was going to say, the basis that ties it all together, which is really the whole thing about sound healing, is peace. And what I've learned is peace is a frequency humming consistently, as opposed to chaos or static or a stuck, right? So the basis is overcoming these chaotic vibrations of fear, which is like anxiety, anger, even pain, but especially just stress. Those all create chaotic vibrations in the body, emotionally, and then that goes into the body physically as well. Not to mention all the noise and actual physical vibrations of chaos, and even electromagnetic and cell phone towers and stuff. So the whole thing is to create a stable, consistent vibration to overcome it. There's a law of physics that says a strong vibration will overcome a weaker vibration and entrain the weaker into the stronger. It's called dominant resonance in physics. Right? So a stable, consistent vibration, first of all, is the vowels. Anybody can feel the difference, right? I mean, it's so different than, right? And that's what happens is when the body is healthy, every single cell, every single organ, every single part of the body is humming consistently. So we can do not only vowels, we can do crystal bowls. I got a crystal bowl here. Stable, consistent. You can think of it as a drone. Tibetan bowls, tuning forks, didgeridoos, anything that creates a drone, including a stable, consistent rhythm. Those all create peace, and that peace will overcome the chaos. A lot of people talk about the body going out of tune. That's not really how it starts. The big problem is chaos. So it's like a cell is kind of fibrillating. It's kind of going, and you can see it. It actually becomes very frazzled, is no longer symmetrical when a cell is not doing well. And then when you play sound to it, there's many research projects that show the cell getting back to a completely symmetrical round cell. So it's all about getting that peace or coherence back into the body. But then when you get really detailed, when you find the frequency of each part of the body and cell, you can resonate it into its healthy state. And that's the new medicine. But it's a little more detailed than that. You can actually find all of the frequencies of a cell, and now there are electron microscopes and light microscopes that will show every frequency of a cell. Which means we can not only play the main frequency of the cell, but all the frequencies of the cell to it and make it healthy. Right? But then, here's where it's all changing. Most people in the field of sound healing are looking at the frequency of something. What really matters is the way frequencies flow or change musically through a system in the body. For example, if you've got a meridian, you can look at the actual frequency of each acupuncture point, which you can measure, and now you've got the notes. So when energy flows through a meridian, it's playing a melody. Ba, da, ba, ba. A very specific melody that's created by God or your soul or whatever, that is quite specific, and its smooth flow is the whole thing. If you don't have smooth flow through your nervous system, you're going to be shaky. If you don't have smooth flow through your nervous system, through your circulatory system, you could have a heart attack. If you don't have smooth flow through the digestive system, all types of problems happen. So it's a song flowing through the body, You can think of it that way. So if you can get the flow going, ba da da, instead of ba da ba da da, right? And that's what happens is we get stuck, especially with emotions. I can't believe what they did. Can you believe that? What's going on in the world? I can't believe. I can't believe. God, can you believe it? Oh God, just is incredible what they're doing. Can you believe it? You know, and you get in this little loop that is totally stopping the flow. Right? So now it's not just a frequency or a combination of frequencies of a cell. It's actually the flow within the cell of energy and the flow of energy through the whole body in each of the 11 medical systems. But then there's the flow of spirit. Gratitude's not a bad flow. Compassion's pretty cool. Universal love's happening, but source is the best flow of all. So that's where we're headed, is no one has been looking at flow. And the reason they're not looking at it is because people don't know how to break down the parameters, all the parameters of music in minute detail. And that's what I've done in both my recording book and my book on sound healing, is I've mapped out all of the different 13 musical parameters and even combinations of them that create flow or not as well. There's many parameters I've added besides the basic music theory. So now we're able to start mapping the actual components of the music as to what they're doing for different emotional issues and physical issues. So we can act, because here's what's been going on. People go, oh, I've got a song, and we're going to test that song and see how it works for different issues. Well, cool, okay, fine. But let's find the exact song and create a new song that will be the very best for anxiety, for PTSD, for depression. I mean, let's really get it down and tune it to each person, right? So that's, I mean, and no one's really done that because there's so many different parameters and they get lost in the parameters of the music. And I see how to do it, especially with AI, because it's a little complex. So that's where we're headed, is really looking at flow systems, and that is music.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I feel like, you're uniquely qualified for. And one of your real gifts in this space is that you do have this really strong background in music composition, music production, all of these different things and about how it all fits together. And that's a whole lifetime study in and of itself. And then you take that perspective and you apply it to the wider universe, the physical body, human health. And I too have a music background as well, and a music production background and mixing, and not as deep as you've gotten into it, but I too take on, like, once I got into this world of sound healing, I started viewing everything from the lens of vibration and music and flow. And I love that you're doing that. I think it's really groundbreaking. And, it's not really that complicated, but it is different. It's very different from how we're used to viewing our lives. And, even like the flow of a lifetime, when you go from childhood up to early adulthood and adulthood, and there's a particular flow to life. And sometimes what I found is that when things were going the best for me, it's because I was actually in harmony with that natural flow of the life and the place that I was in that life. And when things were going kind of the worst for me, it's because I was actually resisting or pushing against where I actually was in the song of my life. Like, I wanted to be in the chorus, like having, fist bumping and having like a great time, but I was just in some kind of like down bridge, and and just resisting where I was in that process.
Oh my God, it's so cool because when you look at it this way, you can see all of this in nature. So now I look at a river completely differently, right? Because the river is the teacher of the flow. And the river, when it hits a rock, it doesn't go, shit, this sucks. In fact, it actually creates this beautiful little curve of flow around it. It's so beautiful. So we can really, when we start getting back to the way nature does it, based on all of these systems, it's so beautiful. It's interesting when you said the thing about a lifetime, a flow of lifetime, then you can even zoom out and look at the flow of many lifetimes. Or, God, what's really interesting is to look at all of the notes as people over many lifetimes, which is how mass consciousness has actually changed over time. Because mass consciousness, when it comes to a strong vibration overcoming a weaker, mass consciousness is a real problem. The consciousness that we are not empowered, we cannot heal ourselves, we cannot manifest what we would like, and we can't even get out of emotional blockages. Because it's if everybody on the planet were living in love and light all the time, it wouldn't even be an issue. It's like you would just be there because you would be entrained into all this energy. It's basic resonance, right? And so because the planet's kind of a mess, making headway, but it's a mess, right? It's so easy to fall back into these patterns of no flow.
For sure. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. You just mentioned a few words, entrainment, resonance. And I just want to tie this back into the spiritual aspect of sound for a minute because, you know, what I keep seeing and what I keep hearing other people speak about as well, and also experiencing in my own life, really if you think about the human body as an instrument, and it's not just your bowl that's making sound, it's not just your voice even that's making putting out a frequency, but also the human body, the human heart, as like studied by the Heart Math Institute. And you start to understand that when you're actually running the energy of gratitude through your body, even though you can't hear it or see it, it's putting out a certain vibration. Or when you run the energy of love through your body, it's like the human instrument is becoming an instrument for that vibration. And could you just talk a little bit about the importance of being in one of those coherent states and resonating that while you practice or while you give sound to somebody, or even without even having to give sound to somebody, just in daily life when you're just holding that vibration as you go about your day? Like what are some of the main things that come to mind when you think of that?
Well, in the classes, when we talk about how to do a treatment or a sound bath on someone, the number one thing I say is the energy you bring to it is the whole deal. I mean, you can have someone that plays a crystal bowl that's kind of like this, versus this. Just being present and still, present and listening to the sounds yourself is really good. But when you learn to actually, let me say it this way. I've been to sound baths that are kind of annoying. And then I've been to others where the ceiling opens up and purple light pours in and there's mass healings in the room and people are bawling on the floor. And it's the whole room's turned into white light. It's just unbelievable, right? And I'm like, okay, how does that happen? Well, first of all, there's the peace and presence. That's most basic. But there's also, you can access higher realms and bring that in. And a lot of people, including myself, actually call in higher beings. I used to just do it for fun. We call in the archangels and ascended masters and ancestors and positive aliens, only for our highest good, right? And then I was in the hospital for appendicitis, and they were, I was actually had a friend of mine that did a treatment on me on the phone, and they called in a whole group of beings, and they were like Babaji was holding my feet, Christ was over the incision, and Gabriel was holding my third eye and crown open. I'm like, okay, fine. And then the room turned into white light for 3 hours in my hospital room. And the doctor came in and said, what's going on with you? I'm like, oh, well, I'm kind of blissed out here. It's like, you need to go home. Right? So I went home and I thought, someone else did that, right? And I thought, what if I could do that? Babaji, Christ, Gabriel, and all of a sudden I'm in a cocoon of white light. I'm like, holy moly, I can do it, right? And normally you don't get access to any higher beings unless, well, there's several ways. One is an accident can put you into a crisis, and that happens. One is drugs. I mean, a lot of people say, ayahuasca did it, man, right? But the main thing is to be at peace more and more in your daily life, which could be just doing a vowel, ooh, even a vowel silently in your head, right? Or playing a crystal bowl, listening to mellow music, right? Going in, we already do many things, out on a hike in nature, right? The more you're at peace, the more chances higher beings are going to contact you. Because if you're bouncing off the walls, they can't contact you. You need to be stable. Right? So the other thing that I've learned is Doreen Virtue says the archangels and angels are up there just bored to death. They can't do anything until you ask. So they're like, come on, ask. And you go, okay, archangels, can you help? Or angels. And all of a sudden they're like, boom. Right? So it's just a matter of asking. So that's a whole different realm. If people think that are listening, if that's too out there for them, don't tell anybody. Right? But also, here's the other deal. And that is to be able to access source. Now, when you are one with the universe, I think of it as being aware of all frequencies in the universe. Because everybody I've talked to, including myself, that's been one with the universe, they say, I was one with everything. I was all. So I think, oh, you are all frequencies in the universe, right? Well, when you actually tune in to multiple frequencies, like your brain goes into a state of theta, which is a rhythm between 3.5 and 7 cycles per second. Whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody's a little bit different, a little faster, a little slower within that 3.5 to 7 cycles per second. So if we look at sparkles on the water, a lot of frequencies at once. Your brain goes into theta. It's like, whoa, right? Or listen to all the sounds in a mix of music, all the instruments. You tune into all of them at once. It's like, whoa. Or tune into all of the harmonics, like on a bowl. Like here's the low harmonic, and here's the high harmonic. low and high at the same time. Now we're tuning into multiple things. Oh my God, you play a gong, now you got 1,000 frequencies at once. And the left brain can't handle it. So we go into the right brain. It's too much information for the left. We go into the right brain, and that's the state of theta, where we can get really deep and really high. So tuning into multiple things at once can be a portal to get you to oneness. Normally, it just gets you to the threshold of theta, and you need a little ding to like open up the next realm. But sometimes it happens, right? Especially if you just ask, right? And all of a sudden, this little archangel goes, "Okay, we'll help you," right? And you open up the crown. Right? So that's the deal, because the second you can connect to source and ultimately to your own soul frequency, because everything is vibration, so your soul has to be a frequency. And Alice Bailey, who has all these spiritual books, she says the trick is to build a bridge called the Antakarana from your soul to the pineal gland, so you can receive that frequency and have it be the leader of your whole system, so which is really stable and peaceful, as opposed to the leader that most people are using, which is the emotional body. It's kind of a fun roller coaster, but it's a little wild, right? So then you access your soul. So that's what's really cool, is when you learn to first just be really still and present, open up to higher beings and even to source. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's the deal. It's because when you can hold those higher energies for an hour and a half in a treatment or a sound bath, oh my God, people are going to get it, right? Even if they have no idea what's going on. It's interesting because I even find it hard to hold it consistently for an hour and a half. We have instructors like Sylvina, our instructor. She can do it for 3 days. She's in the zone nonstop for 3 days. Right? I kind of go in and out. Right? But what I've learned is you can choose an intention to focus on for 5, even 10 or 15 minutes. So you can say, okay, we're going to focus on releasing stuck energy while you're doing a treatment or actually doing a concert or a sound bath. So you can say, okay, releasing stuck energy, play the gong or do rhythms with the shaker and rattle or drum and get it out, right? Okay, you're running that energy of releasing what's holding you back. Okay, and then you go, okay, now we're going to replace that space with love. And for the next 5 to 15 minutes, you go, and I can do 5 or 15 minutes pretty well without getting lost. Right? And then you do, next one, you go, okay, we're going to send that love out to the whole planet. And you do 5 or 15 minutes of that. Right? And then we're going to bring it into our own heart. So then your focus and energy, which is the whole deal, is totally coherent through the whole thing. That's the deal. It's really because people get lost and don't hold the energy with 100% focus. That's the deal. And it's not easy with all of our, because a lot of people are so distracted and haven't done their meditation to get that capability to stay focused. But that's really the whole deal. And it's not hard. And the reason it's not hard is because you get freaking high doing it. And all of a sudden you're high and it's like, whoa, I'm high. And so there's a really big reward there, right? Because you're just so high and just like love is flowing through your heart. And it's like you're getting, rays of light coming down to the top of your head and goosebumps and chills. And it's like, whoa, 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 right? So, and that helps keep it going. This is what should be taught in schools. See, the problem is kids have this thing where they want newness, and it's basically, there's books on it. It's the aspect of being an adolescent. We want something new and different every second. And it's really a incredible drive that especially goes to around 21 or so, sometimes later, right? And so often they don't get focused on peace because they think it's boring. But when you really get into the energy of peace, a whole world opens up of creativity, and it's a portal to other dimensions, including being one with the universe. So when kids learn that peace is the most exciting thing ever, then we can incorporate that in and say, hey, let's cruise the universe, right? And they're like, oh boy, right? And now they're running whole different realms instead of video games.
Nice. Yeah. It's I love that. I love all the stories you just shared, and that's really been my experience too. Even even just like helping my partner and holding her, not even making sound, and just running, connecting with that energy, connecting with that vibration of peace or love or whatever the case may be in the moment that's feeling right. It's like, if I were to put it into a sound healing practitioner context, it's like you're the first sound healing instrument, and what's playing you actually is your attention, and how you are either focusing your attention on these higher vibrations, these more coherent vibrations of peace and gratitude and love. And that's the energy that comes in and plays you, and then moves you to then play the bowl or to play the gong and do these other things. And that continuous flow of that energy through you as the instrument into another instrument, and then those waves into the person. It's like one long telephone wire that eventually connects that person back to source itself. And that's really the ultimate healing. Physical illness is, in some ways, like, the body's not going to last forever, but source energy does, source consciousness does. And what is the most healing of all, regardless of what happens on the physical plane, is to reconnect with that consistent vibration of source,
Yeah.
love,
Oh my God.
consciousness.
Let me tell you how it happened for me. I had an instructor years ago said to me, you know how to run energy? I'm like, not really. And so that really stuck with me. I'm like, what does that mean? Running energy. And so then I had this psychic that said, universal love comes in through the thymus down into the heart. And I thought, oh, okay, I would love to try that. So I started visualizing and imagining universal love coming into my thymus down into my heart. It took about 6 years until finally I started getting a little chills and a little bit of love. And it took probably 10 years until I could finally do it. So I can actually run love just by thinking about it. And that's the deal. And it's the way you do it is you fake it. Basically visualize it like it's real until it finally happens. You can also visualize source coming down through your crown, down your spine. That's the way I get it sometimes too. Just visualize it and keep doing it, and then one day you get a little like chill, or a little like, whoa, something just happened. And then you go, okay, I'm going to keep doing that until that happens more and more. And that's how I learned it. It was just by exactly that. And now I can send energy or a sound silently to any part of my body. So if I can send it to my neck, or silently on the out breath. Oh, here's another really good one. I actually was doing this last night and got really high. Imagine an ohm in your third eye. That will take you out of your emotion that you're stuck in. If you ever get stuck in the fire, oh, I can't believe what they're doing. Oh God, did you see what they did? I can't. Oh, it sucks what they did. You know, you can do that, and it will take you out because the third eye has no emotions, and it's a stable, consistent vibration. So, to actually be able to breathe a frequency silently into any part of the body, it's so easy. Anybody can do it. So if you've got here's the deal. Anybody listening, check in on your body and look where there's a buzz. Anything that's not just humming perfectly. I often go through the chakras, but there could be like I got a little tiny pain in my neck because I got chronic pain there from when I broke out a windshield with my face. Right? Or you can go, oh, there's a little tension in my digestive system, right? Wherever there's a little buzz, chaos, right? Then breathe in, and on the out breath, you can go find a frequency for that spot. Just do a sweep up and down until you find a frequency that feels like it would be the best one for it. You don't have to get it right. Even if you get it wrong, it works really well. So you find a frequency that feels right for that part. So I'll do it for my neck. Right about there. Okay. And now I'm going to breathe in, and on the out breath, I'm going to send that sound to my neck. I don't even have to do it out loud. That is so good. Doing it out loud is cool, but if you're, in a discussion with somebody, or you're in public, or, also you get tired just doing sound. So, I mean, sometimes, I remember when I was in the hospital, I couldn't do sound for more than 10 seconds, right? You can totally do it silently, and it's so effective. And I've had spiritual leaders say, that's the beginning of manifestation, because now you're using the focus of your mind to stay totally focused and do work without even doing it out loud. It's total manifestation.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of the main things I actually work with people on in my classes is just one, sending sound to different parts of the body and learning to even just feel the vibration from your voice and your body. I think is a really, really big step up for a lot of people. And then we always work with silent sound. And yeah, people like Lisa Raphael like swear by silent sound. And I've had a lot of really amazing experiences with it myself. And it's a skill to be able to visualize sound. But once you kind of get the hang of it, like it can be really powerful for, especially, of course, like when you're in a place where you can't really make sound, but you need that stable, consistent frequency to latch onto. It's a really good one. It's even cool.
It's like if you're in an argument or a discussion that's getting a little off rails, right? You can go, and it gives you more capacity to be able to deal with the situation, because now you're at peace instead of frazzled.
For sure. That, I would say, is probably one of the biggest benefits that sound and working with sound healing has had on my life, is like being able to hold that more stable, consistent vibration myself when conflict, chaos, whatever is popping off around me. I'm not always like 100% with it, but way better than I was before.
I've got something to share that's really interesting. We didn't mention, I've got a new book called Sound Loving Relationships. And this concept that we're just talking about here is the main concept, and that is to actually be completely at peace and whole on your own. Because the more chaos you have in your system, physically, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually, it's going to be amplified in a relationship. And the more peace and stillness you have in you is going to be amplified in the relationship also. So it's all about being whole on your own. Most relationship books talk about, talking it out and communication and things. And I do that as well. But really, you got to work on yourself first. And we all know that's so true. It's like really, and that's what you have control over as well. Good luck trying to change someone. Right? So that's really, and then to not have attachment to an outcome. It's really probably the number one thing that causes problem, not only in relationships, but also in a healing session where you go, oh, I really, really don't want to lose this relationship. And I'll do stuff that I wouldn't normally do to not lose it. No, you really got to be whole on your own. And regardless, the level of attachment you have in a relationship is the level of suffering you will have. Now, no attachment is like a guru. I mean, I'm human, right? I still got some attachment, but it's lowered over the years. Where if I feel that something's not going right in a relationship or someone's going to leave, it's like I know I'm not going to die now. Whereas years ago I would oh no, don't leave, right? Whereas the extreme of attachment is where people kill somebody when they leave. Right? So it's really interesting to look at the level of attachment. Now, Alice Bailey says you can't be attached to someone being healed when you're working on them. In fact, you shouldn't even get happy if they are healed. Do it, and Lisa Raffel actually talks about this a lot. Do it and let it be. Right? She even says, Alice Bailey says, you can mess it up if you're attached to it actually working. Right? You have to have no attachment, which means really creating your own field completely and resonating that for them. As Tom Kenyon says in his movie, I don't do healing on anybody anymore. I just create a space for them to heal themselves with sound.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, going to the relationship things, I think, one of the most important places for sound healing to integrate into our society, in my opinion, is actually in the household. And it's sort of my mission to get people to the point where everyone knows the basic benefits and uses of sound healing, just like everyone knows how to wash their hands or how to put a Band-Aid on, or how to like make a sandwich or shower. Like everyone knows how to do that kind of stuff. You don't go to a doctor to have them wash your hands for you. And likewise, like there's certain things with sound healing that we need to learn how to do on our own at home to just be our own source of therapeutic sound, to use this energy and this capacity in a really intelligent but simple way. And I find that in relationship, it is one of the most important benefits of sound healing is helping to support relationships, helping to heal relationships, even, the sound of how you're feeling. Like So for those who haven't heard this phrase before, the sound of how you're feeling is basically intuitively releasing an emotion through the voice, however you're feeling in the moment. And, prior to really working on this and practicing this myself, if my partner made a really angry sound or a really stressful sound or just some kind of sound that would normally be interpreted through my mind as like, oh, I've done something wrong, oh, she's mad at me, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, and so she would make certain sounds, and I would react really negatively to a lot of that. But because I've been working with the sound of how I'm feeling, and I'm seeing the benefit of it in my own personal, like, emotional release journey, now when I hear other people make what would be considered like negative, angry sounds that would normally cause a negative reaction in me, I no longer have that reaction. I no longer take it personally. I can appreciate that they're releasing an emotion, and that sound is just how they're feeling in the moment. And I've gotten to this point where we really like stoke each other's fire in our relationship now. Like, we really encourage that emotional release because we've moved past the point of it not being okay, as it so often is considered.
It's really fun. It's really fun when you do it together at the same time. Do it individually first, and then do it together, and it's like right, and then you like start pushing or dancing, or and it's like it gets really silly and fun, and you just start hugging.
Nice. Yeah, it's so beautiful. There's so many ways that sound can just simple self-expression through the voice, and just simple sounds can be of such benefit in the
Which we had
household.
down as a baby. I mean, if you had anything, you let it out with a sound, and then around one or two, it's like shh, right? The one thing that for everything you're talking about, relationships and home and everything, the number one thing that I could say to people is you have to go to a place of peace at least a dozen times throughout the day. At least a dozen, right? That means one every hour. It's just like those apps that say, oh, you got to get up and walk around instead of sitting down. You need an app that says, okay, every hour you need to at least do 15 seconds of toning. Don't have to even do it out loud. Or, make the sound of how you're feeling. Anything with sound or anything with an instrument for even like 30 seconds max to get to. So peace becomes the norm throughout the day. Because what happens is people get wound up and they've got this stressful energy running, and then they try to relax at night, or try to do something, and it's only going to go so far because your system is amped up. But if you go to peace multiple times through the day, and again, we're talking 30 seconds. So it's so easy to do, and you can totally do it silently. Just right? That is the best thing you could do, because it's going to regulate your whole nervous system dramatically, and that becomes the norm. And now it's so much easier to always be at peace.
For sure. It's like the piece is an instrument in a song, and you're bringing that instrument in regularly throughout the song, in certain places, and it kind of just keeps that tempo of peace. Like, I wouldn't normally think of a hi-hat as peace, but in this example, I'm kind of thinking something along those lines.
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, yeah. So I want to circle back to some of your personal experiences with sound. You've shared a lot of experiences already, but in terms of the everyday practical applications, what has actually come up for you in your life, and like how have you actually used sound for your own personal healing, whether it be like a physical ailment, which I think a lot of people would be interested in hearing about. We've talked about a lot about the emotional thing, but is there anything in general that you would like to share about what's really worked for you the best, based on your own experience? And yeah.
Yes. Oh, big time. I've had essential tremors since I was 1 year old. Really bad essential tremors. I drank a bottle of mercurochrome, which is the mercury stuff that you used to put on wounds, the red stuff. I drank a whole bottle when I was 1 and had my stomach pumped. So in kindergarten, I couldn't hold my arm still. And then when I started doing drugs, that didn't help at all. That made it worse than college, right? And then I got to the point where I was terrified to go to dinner with anybody because I couldn't get the glass from the table to my mouth without spilling it. And if they filled that water up to the tippy top, I went into complete horror, terror. I was just like, oh my God, I can't drink the water then here. I just won't have water the whole night. And I was so scared for years to go to dinner with anybody. And sound has changed that dramatically. I've still got tremors a bit, but now I use the sound vest every morning with my note tuned to me for alpha, which is my T. That's my T. Alpha is present and awake rhythm, tuned to my brain. And so I do 20 minutes every morning on the vest. Then every afternoon I do 20 minutes around 5 o'clock on the sound table with the pillow on top of me. Often there's a kitty on top of me too. She loves the sound as well. And so it gets my whole nervous system back to stable peace. And if I've got anything going on emotionally at all, oh, I'm getting on the vibration because it will be gone in 10 minutes. Not only gone from me in my mind, but also physically that chaotic vibration will be completely gone. So that's helped me so much. But God, the whole thing about being able to transform emotions. I mean, I've got like 10 techniques, but just one basic technique that I've taught the kids as well is to, first of all, make the sound of where you're at. There's nothing easier than that. Be authentic. Just express it. Because a lot of people can't express it at all, right? So express it. And it might be, right? And then slowly transform it to a stable, consistent vowel. You could even add in a little love. So it's like this. So that gets you out and transforms emotion. Sometimes it transforms it. Sometimes you just go to a peaceful place because the vowels are peace and you can see it from there. The 3 to 6 year olds had it down perfectly. They were totally doing it, right? Make the sound of where you're at and slowly transform it. And I said, teach that to your parents. They don't have a clue how to get out of an emotion. They're like, okay. Right. So that's one thing that I've learned is to be less attached to my emotions. I've learned I am not my emotion. I am a pure, stable spirit or soul or point of awareness, which is the witness camera watching. I am not the emotion. So to identify with that has really helped me as well. Boy, it's... there's so many things. Oh, the other thing is I've got lower back pain, and I'll put I got a little base strap that I can put on it, and it's gone in 10 minutes, completely gone. It's unbelievable. so many things for around pain that have been so helpful. But also the other thing, here's an interesting one in relationships that I've learned. And it's you can use vibration around this, but the energy behind it is the deal. When you learn how to run love in with someone, where you're just running. I just did it with my almost girlfriend, uh, close friend. Just we ran love for an hour the night before last. We weren't even on the phone, and just running the energy of love through our bodies and through the other person's body. We weren't even the same. She's like on the East Coast now. I'm on the West Coast, and it was like, oh my God, to be able to run love like that and feel it in your body energetically. It's my all-time favorite thing. If there's anything I'm attached to, that's that. It's so unbelievable, right? I mean, I've done on the phone 3 hours of running love without talking. And if you haven't learned to do that, try it with your relation. Just hold them and run love, right? The energy of love. And you'll get it down. You can make a sound is a good way to start. You can even, here's another one, to send the sound of love to their heart. You can even put your lips on their heart and go, and send love to it. Oh my God, it's so cool. That'll get you going, and then you can start running it. So those are a few of the things that I do with sound. There's the brainwave entrainment that I've got. We do a thing where we find a person's note of their metabolism, and we give them music tuned to their brain, and delta for sleep, theta for creativity, alpha for learning, beta for thinking and overcoming ADHD, and gamma for blissing out. And that has helped me dramatically be more at peace, listening to music tuned to me. It's just like being held in a warm blanket.
Nice. Yeah, so there's three or four main things I think you mentioned there. The sound table, and I just got a sound table from you, and I have to say, like, I wish I'd gotten this thing sooner because it's incredible. It really is. I have a gong. I have other things that I purchased ahead of the sound table, and I kind of wish I'd gotten a sound table first. And there, it's a certain thing, but I would definitely recommend it for people if they're really struggling with like chronic pain or just chronic stress in general. My experience has been it puts me to sleep like so quickly just because it calms me down so fast, and also gets rid of a lot of the chronic pain in my low back. So yeah, that's been an amazing thing. So I heard you mention the sound table. You also mentioned the voice and working with emotions, running love, running intentions, and higher energy, and then working with brainwave entrainment and binaural beats. And those are kind of your go-tos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
It's really, the 4 levels are physically, especially for disease and pain and stress, and then mentally to get you more focused, and then emotionally to let it go. Let that sucker go. Let it go. Right? And then spiritually to get high. Gratitude, compassion, love, and source.
Nice. Along the lines of the brainwave stuff, so one of the things you mentioned in the school is having worked with children with autism. And I was hoping you could maybe just speak on that for just a minute, because I've had a lot of conversations with parents that have children that are on the spectrum, and I don't personally have any like direct experience. So I have passed along what I've heard you talk about and what I've heard others talk about, and they're really grateful for the information. And I was wondering if you could just speak on that in general, because I think it's so valuable and so needed in a lot of situations. And yeah, go for it.
I should say, we've got the Medical Sound Association with over 1,000 doctors and sound therapists that have been meeting bi-monthly to create treatment plans for about 30 different issues. And they're really well thought out and informed. They're like 30 pages each. And if you go to medicalsoundassociation.com, you'll find them. And one of them is for autism. So we've got a lot of details. So it's a really great resource. For autism, there's a huge difference between high on the spectrum and low on the spectrum. It's really a drastic difference. If someone's really low on the spectrum and they're very high functioning, they often love music. I know I had one of my students had a yoga class for a whole group of autistic kids, and she said when she played the bowls or did any sound, that was their favorite part. They just loved it because you don't have to deal with language and emotions and stuff, right? Which is a little hard for them sometimes. And so, but there's some sounds that can be annoying, so you got to be careful and watch like a hawk, because I've worked very directly with people individually and tested all the different sounds to see which ones they like. And it was interesting that sometimes the crystal bowl is too much, so you really got to be careful. But if someone's really high on the spectrum, they are hypersensitive, and often any sound can be way too much. In fact, when some people, you can't even approach them. I worked with an autism center in the East Bay here, and you couldn't even walk up to them. They were that hypersensitive. So that's a whole nother realm. When they're really hypersensitive, and the thing that you can do is, and they may not even be very present and connecting. The trick is to create a connection, and that is to mimic their feelings with the sound. So look at them, go, oh, right? And you totally mirror with the sound. And we do this with not only with the autism, but with babies, and also even with dementia patients as well. So you can just like, oh my God, and do it non-verbally, right? So you got to get comfortable non-verbally making sound, which is you just do play with all different sounds, make sound of how you feel, or just try different sounds and really get comfortable. If you're working with people, you can do call and response to get them comfortable. And then they see that you're actually connecting with them emotionally with the sound. But here's the deal, if you can teach them to make the sound of how they're feeling, they might get it if they're really high on the spectrum, but otherwise you can actually teach them. Just say, how are you feeling? And you're like, what? And they're like, okay, try it. And they go, no, how about this? And they're like, okay, you want to do it with me? And get them comfortable making the sound of how they're feeling, so they can express themselves without words. That's the really cool thing. You can do that when they're lower on the spectrum as well, because then they'll really get it. And they're going to be way more comfortable making sound non-verbally than actually using words. Like even at the autism center is so great. Oh my God, this guy was like this. And we'd already done call and response, so it got him comfortable making sound. It took a couple of weeks, right? But he's like catatonic, right? I'm like, can you make the sound of how you're feeling? And he goes, oh, and he looks up at me and smiles and goes back down. Connection. We just made a connection, right? So nonverbal communication with anybody that's autistic can be really cool. I also have this theory, yet to be proven, but I feel pretty strongly about it, that autism is a person that's stuck on one frequency. And because there's this whole system called the what's it called, the uh, music listening program, and the basis of that system is to listen to classical music and roll off all of the frequencies so you can only hear the highs, and then bring them back in slowly. And what that does to the brain is basically opens up the whole audio spectrum again to that person, where they're because they have been stuck in one range. So I have a feeling that so it could be as simple as a frequency sweep for somebody that's autistic, right? To be able to access the full spectrum of frequencies again and get them out of that one little sliver of frequency that they're stuck in. The main thing about autism, though, is to realize they are light beings. They are not shut down. You can totally get them high. And to go, I mean, if you can access source and universal love, I've had them just like stare at me. Like, what are you doing? What's going on? They just love it, right? Because they're totally able to be lit up like Christmas trees. And that's one thing to realize, is these are humans that are not shut down. They're more light beings than human. So those are some ideas. I mean, the sound table can be good, but you have to test the volume and see if they can handle it, because it could be way too much for them.
Nice. Thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah. Uh, I know. I know it's extra sensitivity, hypersensitive, and like a kind of neurological in some ways also. So there's, you know, that's one of the reasons why sound can be such a great entry point as well, is because it has a really strong impact on the nervous system. But yeah, you know, just for people, I have a little segment now of you talking about this, that if people ask me about it, now I can send them something, you know, because I've had a lot of people ask for different resources. So I appreciate you sharing all of that.
I forgot to mention one. Tuning music to their brain. Jeffrey Thompson's research has shown this is extremely effective, and I've done it for many of them, and it's so effective to get them back to their stable, consistent brain rhythm. So that can be really, really effective as well, finding their metabolism that I was talking about earlier.
Nice, the home note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had remembered in class that you were having a lot of good results with that. So, nice. Awesome. Well, I want to ask you 3 questions that I ask all my guests. In your opinion, what is the biggest misconception about sound healing that confuses people or maybe leads them astray when they're looking into sound healing?
It's interesting. Sometimes people, let me say it this way. There's 2 different realms. There's like sound baths where you play crystal bowls and do toning and get people peaceful and relaxed, and sometimes miracles happen. Sometimes cancer goes away. Not very often, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes, other issues completely resolve, and it can be really amazing. And then there's the whole medical side, where we're actually finding the frequency with an electron microscope of the actual cells and the parts of the body and resonating them into health, or finding the entire frequency spectrum of a cancer cell and exploding it 100% of the time. That's 2 different worlds. And the problem is, in the sound bath world and concerts and even treatments, sometimes people go, oh, sound can heal everything. And it can, technically, but it often doesn't. And so it gets put in the world of woo-woo because people go, oh, yeah, I mean, it's like sound can get rid of cancer. You just use a crystal bowl. And it's happened, but it doesn't happen very often, right? That you get rid of cancer with a crystal bowl, right? It doesn't very, I mean, it can. So that's where it gets a little woo-woo. There's, relaxation and peace is good for everything, but it's not going to cure every disease. So that's kind of the problem that you run into. It's especially a problem when you go into the medical field and into the hospitals with the doctors and say, look, we want to bring this and figure out actually how to heal every disease. And they're like, oh, I know about sound baths. You think crystal bowls are going to heal everything? No, no, that's not what we're talking about. So we often get put in a box of like people. I mean, there's some people that are doing some pretty trippy, psychedelic woo-woo stuff that is really fun, but it's easy to get put in that box when you're actually trying to do something really scientific and medical. And that's kind of the biggest problem. I am not dissing because I believe ultimately, if with the right sound, with just your voice, you could heal everything. But most people don't have that down. Right? So that's kind of the main thing is like, I even had somebody just recently, they were doing a concert with a cello tuned to 432. And they said, oh, 432 is the whole deal. That frequency is like been shown to do this, this, and this, and this. And I'm like, good cello playing is light years better than, and the energy behind it is light years better than something tuned to 432. Right? So there's all these like little panaceas that are cool and really good and are doing, I mean, relaxation that's one thing we can do. We can relax people. And it's really effective. And that's so important for so many things. So I mean, I'm not saying I don't believe in it at all, because I've had miracles happen with myself. And I know, I've seen so many miracles happen. But that's the main thing is people can see somebody doing sound and going woo, 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 and they just put you in a woo-woo box, right? That's kind of the only problem that can happen.
For sure. I mean, yeah, and that's a big part of what I feel called to help people realize, as I mentioned earlier, is that it's not just that. Like, sound is energy, and sound is energy work, and it's really, it can be as simple as just getting sound into the body. One of the most effective things that I teach people to do is to just put a buffalo drum on your body and just hit the drum. And it's so effective. Like, people in my family with chronic pain, I've helped mostly in my family. It's just super effective, and you don't have to have any religious beliefs. You don't have to have any, particular worldview to do that. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of misconceptions, which is why I want to ask that question and help people kind of unpack some potential misconceptions that they might be holding too. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so in the next 5, 10, 20 years, what do you see happening in the field of sound healing that is the most exciting, most revolutionary? And, especially from your perspective, I'm really curious because you know all about what's happening. So
yeah. Oh my God. There's quite a few things in the medical field. I mean, we have 15 frequencies that will destroy 15 types of cancer 80% of the time in the lab. And now they're using ultrasound on cancer, liver cancer, at Johns Hopkins. They've just announced it. So it's now making its way into hospitals. And that means in 5 to 10 years, hopefully, we're going to have no more chemo and radiation. That's so major. Also, we're doing a research project on pain. I've learned that if you fill up a nerve with sound, it can only handle one piece of information, and therefore there's no more room for the pain information. And that's why screaming or even toning will get rid of pain while it's happening, right? So we're doing a project to research the frequency of every nerve and every mechanism that creates pain. And we can just have little electrodes that play that frequency to it, kind of like TENS, but actually tuned to that nerve and get rid of all pain. At least, even if we can get rid of 50%, would be major. Pain is such a major problem. God went a little overboard on that one. but here's the thing I'm most excited about. I got this download that when we find the 11 songs flowing through the 11 medical systems of, nervous system, circulatory system, respiratory system, the muscular system. We find the energy musical flow through each of those 11 systems. We can heal every disease there is, tuned to you. Right? And therefore, we're setting up a research foundation to start looking at every disease based on this flow framework. Because some people in the medical field are focused. I mean, if you're, working on the circulatory system, it's all about flow. They're looking where the blockage is, right? But we're talking about even looking at the flow, not only within the cell, but the atomic flow within the electrons within the cell. And that's measurable now with a device. I was just talking to a guy that actually knows of an electron microscope that will show that. So we're talking about mapping the healthy flow through all 70 trillion cells of a human tuned to you. So we're going to map all 70 trillion cells with AI and look at the relationship between those cells and your flows. So I see that. So with that, we can get rid of, ultimately, this is the download I got, all disease. And with the oneness meditations and universal love, we can get rid of all mental emotional issues. So we're talking, probably not in my lifetime, but I see the path now to getting rid of all disease. I see how to do it. There's a lot of little twists and turns that we're going to have to navigate, but if you look at it from flow, which is just music going through, and we're not talking about listening to music at all or listening to sound. We're talking about running that music through the body with needles with frequencies, microcurrent pads, electromagnetic pads, infrared light, ultrasound, and scalar waves. So we can run that river of flow through every system. The whole deal is health is flow without blockages. That's the definition of health. So to take it not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Then we change the hospital. So now you go in the hospital and you're like, oh, I've got an issue. And they say, well, we can fix that with sound. We can explode those cancer cells. But you need to go into the emotional wing and get rid of that emotion that caused it in the first place. And go into the mental wing and work with brainwave entrainment to get your brain back to that stable focus. And you can go into the spiritual wing. Oh, you're not spiritual? Let's go into the garden and look at the flow systems in nature and how those manifest. Let's learn how to run universal love for that heart condition. So that's what we're looking at, is changing the hospital system that incorporates everything physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Those are things. Not to mention a whole new educational system where kids are lit up like Christmas trees.
And kids do love Christmas. Usually. Nice. That's such a beautiful vision. I'm curious, have you looked at all into like generative AI music for different basically for mapping someone's heart rate, brain waves, respiration in the moment, and then based on all of that, like using AI to just compose some music in the moment.
Oh
That
yeah. Oh yeah.
you've looked into
Yeah, I've
that?
looked at it and I've got all the parameters of music mapped out as to how they would be created physiologically. It's interesting. There's one part that is really unique that AI is going to help with big time. Because I'm talking about creating music to your rhythm of your metabolism where you're at peace. But your metabolism and your system changes throughout the day. I mean, in the morning we're different metabolism than we are the afternoon, and and everybody's got their own little chord progression. So we're talking about actually mapping your chord progression throughout the day and then adjusting that to you so that you're at peace at each stage. Which is interesting because even in Indian music, they talk about this with ragas. Ragas for the morning, ragas for the afternoon, ragas for different seasons even, right? So that's ultimately where we're headed, is to actually get that detailed, not just the right rhythm and key of the song, which we now are doing.
Nice. I look forward to checking that out. That seems super like just doable now that AI is making music.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really
um,
about mapping all the parameters of the music with AI. And most
hmm
people don't know how to do that. And if they do, then they're just musicians and not really into the science of healing. So it's rare that there's somebody that has that, like as you mentioned. It's like spirit kind of worked my whole life to bring all this together in the end.
Absolutely. I definitely see that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you incorporate something like voice bio into it, and use that as an input into the type of music being generated.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Right, based on your voice analysis. Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, okay. Final question. For someone who is considering moving into the field of sound healing, what would you say is one of the biggest ways that sound healing has enriched your life and just made the journey sweeter? And what words of advice would you give to them if someone's just getting started?
I used to not know how to relax completely. No, and now I can totally do it. I mean, 20 years ago, I had a hard time just being still, and that's dramatic. That's dramatic. But to be able to access higher realms of love and oneness, oh my God. It's just, I mean, it's like, 50 years, I had no idea that I could be so blissed out. I mean, seriously blissed out. And when you're blissed out with Source, everything goes into flow. I mean, it's like relationships. It's like, oh, what's that problem? I don't know. It's just like totally got compassion and forgiveness up the wazoo now, right? It's like, oh my God, now my body, that issue in my body is going away. Now it's completely gone. It's like you get these blissed out states, and everything starts resolving, especially relationships, right? It's like, oh God, now we're in complete harmony. It's like, so it's just the the fact that you can not only heal yourself but just be blissed out is really the main thing. And so now that's like, I'm kind of addicted to it. You know, when's the next time we can travel through the stars?
Yeah. Yeah, so much of what we strive for in this life is just temporary hits of bliss.
Mm.
And it's it's something that we can really access for free, with just the voice, or really just our attention even, and intention. I'm so thrilled that we had this time to talk today. I'm really, really looking forward to getting this out to the world and just, you know, making one more little ripple out into everyone's lives to help spread this modality to more people, and hopefully inspire more people to use it, because it's here, it's available for us, and there's no reason not to.
Right. Good work.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate you coming on. And for all of those of you still with us, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this conversation. Please like, share, and subscribe. Send the video to anybody that you think needs to hear this. And I look forward to doing more podcasts in the future with other amazing, brilliant healers and researchers in the sound healing field. So until next time, peace.